Hi everyone, Mrs. Spatola here. Today we're going over some of the answers from Unit 3, Lesson 10. I'm aware there were 2 Lesson 10s. That'll be fixed, not to worry. Right now we're going to look at the review and problem solving. And if you worked really hard on the answers, hopefully you'll have some success when you check your answers. Number 1 was write an example of the commutative property of addition. Remember, the commutative property is a property where you have to change order. So 1 plus 2 equals 2 plus 1 is a great opportunity to reflect the commutative property of addition. CO, change order. Number 2, write an example of the associative property of multiplication. Now, when you think of the associative property, think parentheses. Now, there is another property that has parentheses. The other property is the distributive property. However, the distributive property has a combination of addition and multiplication, or even some cases, subtraction and multiplication. A distributive property would have a combo. And in class, we joked around, we talked about a combo meal. So when you think about the associative property, however, yes, you're going to think parentheses. However, you're going to think of just one operation. Of multiplication would be the multiplication in between the numbers. So notice here we have 2 times 3. That's in parentheses, times 4 equals 2 times 3 times 4. The order is the same, but the groups are different. Number 3, the coefficient. Coefficient, think copilot. It's the number next to the variable. Translate the following. A number minus 4, W minus 4. And by the way, when you're doing these problems, please go back in your workbook. You should be flipping back, looking back through the lessons that we did. If you even need more help, you can easily just go back and look at any of the videos that were previously made for the topics that you're having trouble with. For a number W minus 4 is W minus 4. Number 5 is a tricky one. The product of W and 7. 7W. When you see the word product, it means to multiply. And when we show in algebra, when we show multiplication, it's just the number next to the variable, the coefficient next to the variable. Number 6, 5 less than P. The term less than is a switch word, so it would be P minus 5. Also, remember less than and the word from. Those are both what we call switch words, so be very aware of that. So again, number 6 was 5 less than P is P minus 5. Number 7, quotient implies division of S and 5, so it's S divided by 5. This is definitely the way you want to look at it for 7th grade and for algebra purposes. Now, any kind of keywords that you are looking for, keywords can be found in the beginning of your workbook on page 7. So please look back. At this point, boys and girls, you should be looking back in your workbook. You've done such great work so far this year, and it's really important that you go back and look at what you've done and what you've completed. Let's continue. Number 8, evaluate. Remember, the term evaluate means to solve. Evaluate means to solve. So for this one, you're going to 9a plus 45. You're going to substitute when they give you the value of the variable. You're going to substitute the number in for the variable. So if you follow all of the steps, and remember, very important that you go through and write each entire line. You solve one thing, bring everything else down. Number 8, the answer was 117. Number 9, the answer when x is equal to 5, when you substitute it in. And remember, this is to the 3rd power, so be careful. So what does that mean? It means 5 times 5 times 5. So it was 9 times 125. Your final answer was 1045. Number 10 is an order of operations problem. So make sure anything to the 2nd power that you are multiplying that number times itself 2 times. It's not 8 times 2. In this example, it's 8 times 8. And same thing with 6 to the 2nd is 6 times 6. Final answer there was 49. Number 11, use the distributive property to solve. So remember, you're multiplying the 5 onto the 3 and onto the 6. So you have to write 5 times 3 plus 5 times 6. I will not accept, just so you're aware, if you were to do something like this, which I've seen, okay, and you turned around and you said, oh, that's 5 times 9, and then give me 45. Yeah, it's the same answer, but that's not applying the distributive property. That is not acceptable. So make sure when you see something like this, you have to follow the directions. It's about the directions. You want to make sure that you are reading the directions and that you are following the steps that are required. On the next page, number 12, use the break apart, then apply the distributive property. So the first thing you want to do is break apart that 49. So how does that look? It's 8 times 40 plus 9, and then we go ahead and we apply the distributive property for a final answer of 392. On number 12, 7 friends are going to Splish Splash. They each need $41 for their ticket and $15 for a snack. Use the distributive property to write and solve an expression. That's your directions, because you want to find out how much the friends will spend all together. So you put on the outside, this is an application of the distributive property. It's 7 on the outside times $41 for their ticket and $15 for a snack. You're multiplying that by 7 because each of the friends is purchasing their ticket and needs money for the snack. Final answer, 392. Number 13, an example of a numerical expression. Remember, numerical number only. Therefore, your answer should have, or your example should only have numbers, no variables. Number 14, an example of an algebraic expression. It can be anything, but make sure in there that you do have a variable. The variable W here makes that an algebraic expression. Remember, algebraic, alphabet. Why do we think alphabet? Because of the variable. Number 15, calculate the area of the figure below using the distributive property. Again, the directions are telling you to use the distributive property. So when you set it up, you want to make sure, and we even gave you like the little format ahead of time, you should have one number on the outside. You have a width of 4 here. So that can be applied to, there are 2 different shapes. So you can multiply the 4 times the 6 and the 3 and then separate them. So the first box here, even if you were to number them, this would be box number 1 and this would be box number 2. Here's box number 1 over here. Here's box number 2. So you are finding the area of each one and then combining for a total of 36 square units. They didn't tell us the units, but if they don't, it's just square units or units squared. For today's assignment and homework / classwork, what you're going to be doing is completing the first 2 pages of the study guide, Unit 3 study guide, Properties and Expressions. Now keep in mind, on the left side is going to be directions, and it tells you the vocabulary terminology and things and ways that'll help you to solve the problems that are on the right side. Order of operations, you should be reading through this, going through all of this so that you understand. Then you're going to continue down on this page for properties. Here are a list of the properties. If you feel you need to, you can definitely go back into your notes, look back in the unit. Very important. A good math student will look back in their notes. Look back. What did I do? Look back. Refresh your mind. Think about what we talked about during the lessons in class or in previous videos. So you're going to finish up this page, all of the problems. On the next page, we have examples of the commutative, associative, and distributive properties. Okay, and what you're going to be doing here is completing the answers on the right column. Make sure you follow the numbers. Sometimes there's problems that do bounce onto the left side. Here, the distributive property going forward. These are just some review notes here. Please go back in your workbook. Please review any videos that you feel that you're not understanding for any concepts. Please make sure that you are following the video, following the steps. And here's some information on expressions, and that's how that works. At this point, that's for now. You're going to complete those pages. Keep working hard. You're doing an awesome, awesome job. We have a test coming up real soon. Keep the positive attitude. This is Mrs. Spatola, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.